Hello, welcome back to the channel. So I recently heard the statistic that apparently 80% of people fail at their resolutions by like March. How crazy is that? So here is the video that's going to help you not become a statistic this year. I wanted to share with you all of my best tips and tricks to make 2024 our best year yet. And I thought this year, instead of just doing a reflections video or a goal setting video, I wanted to actually take you through my entire process of planning for a new year while I'm also doing it. Because social model method, right? We watch someone do it and it makes us feel like we can do it. So I always split my New Year's planning into 4 categories: reflecting, visualizing, planning, and decluttering. I feel like those 4 categories kind of cover everything I want to think about before year ends, as well as when the year starts. And then in recent years, I added the decluttering as well, because nothing feels better than starting a year fresh with like a new environment or less things, or just making more room for new things. I know it's cheesy, but you know what they say, cluttered space equals cluttered mind. And I've definitely let my space get pretty cluttered this year. Okay, so let's just jump right into it and start with reflection. Before I move on to creating the vision board and setting my goals, I like to reflect on the previous year first. I think this is a super important part of improving and progressing, because you want to be able to compare your current state as well as your future goals to how you've been in the past. I think working in tech has really drilled that in me, like keep an eye on the KPIs, let's track metrics every week, compare period to period. So I've sort of started to do that with my own life as well. By reflecting, you're essentially looking at the data from a past period, aka the last year, and using that to build upon the goals that you want to set for this following year. So when I'm doing this portion of my New Year's planning, the reflecting part, I like to focus on 3 things: the good, the bad, and the lessons. One tool I know a lot of people use is called the Wheel of Life. So essentially, you want to imagine your life as a pie chart or a wheel. In this wheel, your life gets split up into 3 categories: work, health, and relationships. And then each of those 3 main categories then get split into 3 more categories. So under work, you have mission, money, and growth. Under health, you have body, mind, and soul. And then under your relationships, you have romance, family, and friends. You can actually add in whatever other categories you think are major to your life. And I think different people use different categories, but this is one that I've seen being used the most. So once you have your circle all mapped out, you want to go into each individual category and give it a rating out of 10. This rating is going to be based off your satisfaction for each of those categories in the past year. Or in other words, how aligned did you feel that you were to these categories, and that those categories are to your goals, needs, and wants. So looking at health for myself, for example, I feel like body, I'm only going to give it like a 6 out of 10 this year. There was a period where I was really trying to get back into workout classes and making that work, but as the year has come to an end, I've sort of dropped off, and I haven't really been able to build it into a habit. So 6 out of 10, definitely an area that I want to work on. My mind, I feel like all my previous years, this would have been a pretty high rating, like a 9, or even maybe a 10, just purely based on like how hard I've worked on growing my mind. But this year, I think I want to give it an 8. Like, I've done a lot of things that exercises my mind, but I focus less on personal healing and growth this year, and I think I would like to maybe incorporate some of that work back into my goals for next year. So go through every single category, give yourself a rating. You can pause this video if you want to do this right now, or just remember this tactic for when you do your planning. And remember to write this all down, like draw it out or type it out, because this is actually going to help you a lot when you're doing your visualization portion of your planning and the planning portion of your planning. The Wheel of Life is a great starting point for New Year's planning, because it can quickly show you like what areas that you've actually put time and focused on in a year, and what areas you feel like are lacking. Another method that I really like to use, and that I personally use the most, both in my reflection period of the new year, but also in my day-to-day, is journaling. There isn't one specific set of reflection questions that I ask myself year over year, but I do think the questions do end up being quite similar. But what I like to do is go on the internet and search up year-end reflection questions and sort of pick the questions that align the most with what I'm feeling and what I want to feel. I really try to focus on questions that help me dig a little deeper. To get you started, I made a list of year-end reflection questions. So I'll put them on the screen here, but I'll also put them in the description box so that you can quickly copy and paste them. These are journal prompts that I've used in the past that I'm going to use this year, and I feel like they'll really help you understand yourself and your past year better. Notice that the questions also focus on both the positives as well as the opportunities from your year. I think it's key to not only reflect on everything that was good that happened, but also to figure out like, okay, what are the areas that felt like they were lacking to me or felt like they were opportunities? Just like the wheel of life, there's no way that every single area of your life could have been a 10 out of 10 and that there is only positive experiences happening throughout your year. So being able to reflect on the opportunities or the negatives is a great way to actually figure out and guide yourself into knowing what you could be working on for the new year. These questions will really make you think about like every area of your life and how that might have affected how your year went, so that you can build a better year the next year. So I've been doing the reflecting for the past couple of days, and I've been journaling a ton and just really figuring out how I've felt about 2023. So once you've finished the reflecting portion, it's time to move on to the fun part, which is visualizing. I personally love this portion because it means we can start putting together the pieces and building our vision board. Keeping in mind everything you reflected on, it's time to focus on what you want to improve and what you want to prioritize in this next year. Again, this is why I think that journaling portion or reflecting portion is so important, because some of those questions and even doing the wheel of life will start to invoke emotions in you, and you can actually use those emotions to guide how you figure out your vision board. So I will use the emotions that I've felt and identified in the reflecting portion, and then look for images that invoke the same positive emotions or that invoke the same need to do better. My go-to place for inspiration is always Pinterest. I just find it to be so easy to use. I have my iPad here, so we're actually gonna get started on looking for images for my vision board. Okay, so how I use Pinterest is I will actually go in and just search for terms of what sort of images I wanna look for. So we can search health, for example. If you're wondering how you can figure out like what terms you want to search for, I would even look at your wheel of life or look at your journaling and just pull out words that stick out to you. So it could be money, it could be finance, it could be growth, it could be health, wellness, fitness, whatever it may be. And then just type those terms into Pinterest and start looking at the pictures. What I'll often do is when I see an image that really speaks to me, I can save that image, but then I can actually scroll down and start looking at similar images as well. So let's say this image speaks to me. You know, I want to do more yoga in the next year, but this is not exactly the image that I want to put on my vision board. So I can scroll down and see if there's a better image. Oftentimes you're going to find really great alternatives, like this one is great because I know I want to journal consistently. Maybe this image speaks to my vision board more because it's actually an Asian girl doing yoga. But this can take like 10 minutes, but it can also take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, because this point you just want to save as many pictures as you can so that you can pick and choose what make it onto your vision board when it's time to actually do that. And I want you to exhaust all the terms from your wheel of life as well as your journaling to make sure you're covering all the different bases when it comes to designing and creating your vision board. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time doing that and just keep scrolling through Pinterest until I feel like I have a pretty solid collection of images. Side note, I recently got the Owala bottle. I love it. This is like everything I wanted in a bottle. So random, I know, but if one of your goals is to drink more water this year, a Owala bottle is the solution. This is not even an ad. I purchased this with my own money, but I'm somebody who prefers to have like a sippy cup, having a cup and like drinking water like this, or having a bottle and having to like lift and tilt it every time is just a chore for me. So this is actually perfect because it does have the regular spout, so you can go and drink water by tilting it, but it also has a free flow sippy straw. And so I can hold this bottle straight up and down and just drink from it. Ugh, the sippy straw makes it so satisfying. If I can give you one recommendation of what you need for the new year, a Walla bottle. Anywho, that was such a free ad for them, but I have been obsessed. Okay, so I usually spend probably about a day doing this, and I like to give it a day to actually just marinate and then start working on the vision board the next day, because it gives me some time to really feel out those images. So I have a sleep on it, and then I come back the next day to see if all of those images still speak to me, and if they do, that's when I actually start building my vision board. Now, I always build my vision board in Figma. I've seen people do it in a Word doc, in Photoshop, in Canva, in a slideshow, but Figma is just the easiest tool to use for me because I can drag and drop all of the images right in there. And then it actually has different device screen sizes. So if I want it for my iPad, my iPhone, or my MacBook, it'll give me that artboard size to play around with. Once I decide what size I want my frame to be, I can then just drag and drop and sort of play around with how I want to lay out the images. I really do this just by looking and feeling and seeing which images speak out to me the most, and I make those ones the largest ones. Which ones talk to my goals and values the most, those ones can also be the largest ones. And then I'll also include some quotes or text on there as well, just to make it really congruent and make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. When I'm all finished, I just have to export this and I can use it for the background of my phone. Alrighty, so we've finished with our vision board. I actually put it on my lock screen on my phone already. So now that we are done with our visualizations, it's time to actually take those visualizations and all the emotions that they've evoked and turn them into goals and steps to actually make this year your best year yet. Setting goals can be pretty daunting, and I think we're all a little bit scarred from past experience of setting these like lofty goals and not being able to achieve them, and sort of letting that trust that we have with ourselves break down over time. But there are a couple of frameworks and strategies that I incorporate and that I know a lot of people use that can make the process of goal setting as well as achieving the goals a little bit easier. So the first tip I have is to actually use your little wheel of life exercise that you did earlier. This is a great place to start because you've already divided up your life into all the most important categories, and you've listed down how you feel about those categories. So if you start by just writing down a goal for each of those 9 categories, or writing down a goal for each of the areas that you felt were kind of lacking or that you didn't do as well on this year, that already sort of covers all of your bases. I personally don't set more than 3 to 4 major goals in a year. I definitely wouldn't set 9 big goals for myself, mainly because I want to build back that trust in myself that I can actually accomplish these goals. And I never want to put myself in a situation where I feel pressured to make every area of my life perfect, because that's simply impossible. Another great exercise to try that I recently learned from Ali Abdal's video is to, instead of starting with goals, to start with what you want to be celebrating 365 days from now. In each of the categories of your wheel of life, list down 1 or 2 wins that you would love to celebrate by the end of the year. I think starting with this is going to feel a little bit easier than starting and jumping right into goals. And you can actually use these successes or wins that you're hoping for as guidance towards your goals. So for example, for my work category, I wrote, under mission, feeling really aligned with my mission and feeling like I spent the year working towards my goals, yet enjoying every step of the way. That is what I want to celebrate. Under money, I wrote, save up $80,000 for my Italy move. That would definitely be a huge one worth celebrating. And then under growth, I wrote, I want to celebrate my strongest year yet for brand deals and collaborations. So you can see I didn't necessarily start writing like a SMART goal. I just wrote down what would feel the best if I got to celebrate on December 31st at the end of the year. And then once you have all these wins written down, you can go through them and try to see which ones speak to you the most, which ones make your heart sing, which ones feel like they would be the most monumental for you to achieve. And if you can narrow it down to like 3 to 5, that would be ideal. But if it's a couple more or a couple less, that's totally fine as well. Because these wins that we're picking out right now are the ones that we're going to turn into actionable goals. So when we're talking about actually writing down these actionable goals, I think there's 2 frameworks that I've been really enjoying playing around with. The first one is one that we all know and love, and it's the SMART goal setting method. But the second one is a new one that I adapted just like at the end of 2023, and it's from Ali Abdaal's book, Feel Good Productivity. Similar to SMART goals, it is also an acronym, but it is NICE goals. So let's go through what these acronyms actually mean. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This has been such a popular method for people when they're writing goals because it really allows you to get down to the nitty-gritty and make sure that that goal is actually achievable. NICE goals stand for near-term, input-based, controllable, and energizing. And the reason he created this new framework for setting goals isn't because SMART goals aren't great, but the problem with only having SMART goals is that sometimes having too much focus and too much tunnel vision towards something so specific can actually be detrimental to you achieving that goal. When you're hyper fixated on a super specific goal, we may even lose sight of our values, of what the overarching goals are, and maybe even of our why. When we obsess over a goal too much, it can actually also cause us to lose the intrinsic pleasure of accomplishing that task. So the way that I use NICE goals is actually to break down SMART goals. I don't choose one or the other, but instead I do both. So I personally will set SMART goals for those overarching life categories. They're the more lofty goals that I want to accomplish. And then I will use NICE goals to break down those SMART goals into how I'm actually going to achieve them. So for example, if my fitness goal this year is to build a habit of being able to work out at least 4 out of the 7 days in a week, then my NICE goal would be to exercise for 10 minutes each day for 2 months, focusing solely on just moving my body. Or taking my YouTube goal, for example, which is to reach 200,000 subscribers by December 31st and to create an engaging community over on my Discord. My NICE goal for this would be to ask my Discord community at least once a week for video suggestions and create 2 videos a month based on those specific suggestions. But whether you do 1 or 3 or 10, I think taking this extra step to break down the actual steps that it will take you to achieve your goals is what's kind of missing in most people's formulas when they are setting New Year's resolutions. It's not that we're setting the bar too high for ourselves, because we can achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve. It's that we haven't properly planned out how we're going to achieve those goals. When you're able to actually dig deep and break down your goals into those daily, weekly, or monthly tasks, it makes it so much more attainable to actually stay on task and try to achieve those goals. It also allows you to check in with yourself more frequently and to evaluate, is this goal still something that I want? And am I on track to achieving that goal? Hopefully, I was able to provide you with some strategies and frameworks that you can use to more easily be able to write down in a super clear and concise way what it is you want to achieve and how you want to get there. I really do think it's important that we don't skip all the earlier steps and move straight to the goals, because before you identify your how, it's so important to identify your why. All right, that is how you're going to set goals that you can actually achieve so that you can become an even better version of yourself in 2024. Now that we've created our plan for 2024, it's time to do some decluttering. This is actually one of my favorite things to do at the end of each year leading into the beginning of the next year. And when you're looking at decluttering, I think that there are actually two major areas that you need to declutter. One is your physical space, of course, and the other is actually your digital space. I think sometimes it's easy to forget that our digital space is a huge part of our lives as well. So decluttering your digital space will include going through all of your photos and videos for the year and, moving any that you can to the cloud and deleting any that you don't need. It also means going through all of the files in your laptop or computer, and for any that you don't need, you can move them over to a hard drive. For any that are still working files, maybe you can use a working hard drive. And then all the other junk and apps and everything that you don't need, throw them in the trash bin or uninstall them. Same goes with our iPhone. Are there any apps that you pretty much did not touch this year? Is there really a point for you to keep that on your phone, or can you just re-download it at a time where you need it again? Even going as far as cleaning out your music playlist. To me, music affects my mood so much. When I hear a great song, it can pull me out of a really, really dark place. So I like to actually go through all of my music library every so often just to make sure that all the music that I have on there has been curated and is there for a reason. I think in the past, it's easy to quickly save an entire album or quickly save someone else's playlist because there's a few songs that I enjoyed and I wanted to explore that album or playlist more. So there actually ends up being a ton of music in my library that I do not give a single fuck about. So that's another sort of unexpected place that's important for you to do a little bit of decluttering in. Now, in my physical space, I have to do so much decluttering. There's so many things that I want to sell. There's a lot of things that I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with. And one challenge that I did last year that I'm planning to do again this year is the 30-day decluttering challenge. What this challenge is you make a little chart of 30 days, so 1 to 30. And what you're gonna do is on day 1, you get rid of 1 thing. And then on day 2, you get rid of 2 things. And then on day 3, you get rid of 3 things. So all the way down to day 30, where you're getting rid of 30 things. I think this challenge is really great because it allows you to slowly declutter your life without it feeling too overwhelming or you're getting rid of too many things. But I think when you do this method, it just builds your brain into the habit of, okay, evaluating different spaces and seeing where I can eliminate some of the things that I no longer need. I love doing this challenge, but what I like to personally do is instead of going from 1 to 30, I will just pick a random number and then name a specific category that I want to declutter. So for example, if today I'm okay, I want to go through all of my books and I want to try to get rid of 16 books, then next to the number 16, I'll put books, and then I will comb through every single book to see if I can find 16 books that I think I will never read again so that I can donate them to our local library or thrift store. I think one of the overarching messages of this video is that there's tons of strategies and methods that you can adopt into your goal setting, into your decluttering, into your visualizations that makes the task easier for you to do. So I hope I was able to introduce you to some new ones in this video, and I hope that I was able to help you with your New Year's resolutions, your decluttering, and just your planning overall. All right, I think that concludes today's video. If you made it all the way to this point of the video, I love you so much. much. Go to the comment box and comment 3 thumbs up so I know you did. And then send me an email at hello@coffeeswithangel.com and I'll send you a little gift to show my appreciation. I'm super excited that it is a new year because I have so many fun things planned, and I hope you feel the same about 2024 as well. If you want to connect with me on any other platform, all of my links are in the description box below. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. But with that, I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!